I was in my office in the Pentagon when the telephone rang, and it was Bobby. The president had been shot in Dallas. Perhaps 45 minutes later, Bobby called again and said the president was dead. Jackie would like me to come out to the hospital. We took the body to the White House about whatever it was, 4 a.m. and called the superintendent of Arlington Cemetery. And he and I walked over those grounds. They're hauntingly beautiful grounds. White crosses row and row. And finally, I thought I found the exact spot, the most beautiful spot in the cemetery. I called Jackie at the White House and asked her to come out there, and she immediately accepted it. And that's where the president is buried today. A Park Service ranger came up to me and said that he had escorted President Kennedy on a tour of those grounds a few weeks before. And Kennedy said that was the most beautiful spot in Washington. That's where he's buried.
I will do my best. That is all I can do. I ask for your help and God's.
Bob?
Yes, Mr. President.
I hate to modify your speech any, because it's been a good one, but I just wonder if we should find 2 minutes in there for Vietnam.
You know, the problem is what to say about it.
All right, I'll tell you what I would say about it. I would say that we have a commitment to Vietnamese freedom. We could pull out of there, the dominoes would fall, and that part of the world would go to the communists. We could send our Marines in there, and we could get tied down in the Third World War or another Korean action. Nobody really understands what it is out there. They ask him questions, and they're saying, why don't we do more? Well, I think this. You can have more war or you can have more appeasement. But we don't want more of either. Our purpose is to train these people, and our training is going good.
All right, sir, I'll get on.
I always thought it was foolish for you to make any statements about withdrawing. I thought it was bad psychologically. But you and the president thought otherwise, and I just sat silent.
The problem is... Really,
all right, then the question is, how in the hell does McNamara think when he's losing the war, he can pull men out of it?
If you went to the CIA and said, how's the situation today in South Vietnam, I think they'd say it's worse. You see it in the desertion rate, you see it in the morale, you see it in the difficulty to recruit people, you see it in the gradual loss of population control. Many of us in private would say that things are not good, they've gotten worse. Now, while we say this in private and not public, there are facts available that find their way in the press. If we're going to stay in there, we're going to go up the escalating chain. We're going to have to educate the people, Mr. President. We haven't done so yet. I'm not sure now is exactly the right time.
No, and I think if you start doing it, they're going to be hollering you a warm-up.
I completely agree with you.
Make no bones of this. Don't try to sweep this under the rug. We are at war in Vietnam. And yet the president and his Secretary of Defense continues to mislead and misinform the American people, and enough of it's gone by.
On August 2nd, the destroyer Maddox reported it was attacked by a North Vietnamese patrol boat. It was an act of aggression against us. We were in international waters. I sent officials from the Defense Department out, and we recovered pieces of North Vietnamese shells that were clearly identified as North Vietnamese shells from the deck of the Maddox. So there was no question in my mind that it had occurred. But in any event, we didn't respond. And it was very difficult. It was difficult for the president. There were very, very senior people in uniform and out who said, my God, this president is, they didn't use the word coward, but in effect, he's not protecting the national interests. Two days later, the Maddox and the Turner Joy, two destroyers, reported they were attacked.
Where are these torpedoes coming from? Well, we don't know. Presumably from these unidentified craft.
There were sonar soundings, torpedoes had been detected, other indications of attack from patrol boats. We spent about 10 hours that day trying to find out what in the hell had happened. At one point, the commander of the ship said, we're not certain of the attack. Another point, they said, yes, we're absolutely positive. And then finally, late in the day, Admiral Sharp said, yes, we're certain it happened. So I reported this to Johnson, and as a result, there were bombing attacks on targets in North Vietnam. Johnson said, we may have to escalate. I'm not going to do it without congressional authority. And he put forward a resolution, the language of which gave complete authority to the president to take the nation to war. The Tonkin Gulf Resolution. Now, let me go back to the August 4th attack.
Well, there apparently been at least 9 torpedoes in the water. All missed.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Wait a minute now. I'm not so sure about this number of engaged.
Right.
We'd have to check it out here. He said many of the reported contacts and torpedoes fired appear doubtful. Freak weather effects on radar and overeager sonarmen may have accounted for many reports.
Okay, well, I'll tell Mr. McNamara this.
That's the best I can give you, Dave. Sorry. It does appear now that a lot of these torpedo attacks were from the sonar man, you see. And they get keyed up to a thing like this. Everything they hear on the sonar is a torpedo.
You're pretty sure there was a torpedo attack, then?
Oh, no doubt about that, I think. No doubt about that.
No, it was just confusion. And events afterwards showed that our judgment that we'd been attacked that day was wrong. It didn't happen. And the judgment that we'd been attacked on August 2nd, which we'd made, was right. We had been. Although that was disputed at the time. So we were right once and wrong once. Ultimately, President Johnson authorized bombing in response to what he thought had been the second attack. It hadn't occurred, but that's irrelevant to the point I'm making here. He authorized the attack on the assumption it had occurred, and his belief that it was a conscious decision on the part of the North Vietnamese political and military leaders to escalate the conflict, and an indication they would not stop short of winning. We were wrong, but we had in our minds a mindset that led to that action, and it carries such heavy costs. We see incorrectly, or we see only half of the story at times.
We see what we want to believe.
We see you're absolutely right. Belief and seeing, they're both often wrong.
We Americans know, although others appear to forget, the risk of spreading conflict. We still seek no wider war.
We introduced what was called Rolling Thunder, which over the years became a very, very heavy bombing program. 2 to 3 times as many bombs as were dropped on Western Europe during all of World War II.
This is not primarily a military problem. It's a battle for the hearts and the minds of the people of South Vietnam. As a prerequisite to that, we must be able to guarantee their physical security.
We're off to bombing these people. Over that hurdle. The game now is at the 4th quarter and about 7-8-0. Well, I'm scared to death of putting ground forces in, but I'm more frightened about losing a bunch of planes, lack of security. So am I. The psychological impact of the Marines are coming is going to be a bad one. And I know that every mother is going to say, oh, this is it. What we've done with these B-57s is just going to be Sunday school stuff compared to the Marines. My answer is yes, but my judgment's no.
All right, we'll take care of this, President.
When are you going to issue the order?
Well, we'll make it late today, so it'll miss some of the morning edition. I'll handle it in a way that'll minimize the announcement. Westmoreland recommended 10 additional battalions over and above the 13 you've already authorized. Something on the order of 45,000 men. I would recommend 5 battalions with a strength of about 25,000 men.